So now we have text 2. You remember I gave you the diagram. Text 1, audience 1 equals original meaning. Well, now we've added on. So now we have text 1 plus audience 1 equals original meaning plus text 2. So what is text 2 now with our understanding? So what the text is saying is this: Joseph did not fight against being relocated to a smaller place because his nature was to become great even if he had to do it in Egypt. So brought down is of the hafal stem. It's saying the activity of the aggressor. So what the text is saying in the hafal stem is that the action of the slave owners over Joseph was greater than any ability to resist them, first of all. So he couldn't resist. They were greater than he. But then the hafal stem gives you also the passive activity of the one that the action is against. So it's really saying that not only was Joseph overwhelmed, but he did not resist. All of that in the words brought down. Then you look at his name, means to be great. There's so much in this text. Look at the irony. Greatness is reduced to confinement. Increase is forced in limitation. But here's the catch. What happens if you shake up a bottle and then pop the top? Explodes. Okay? So what's happening with greatness being put inside of confinement? It has no choice but to come out explosively. You can't hold it. But it's an oxymoron because greatness is now confined in Egypt. But the nature of it is such that Egypt can't hold it. And if you read his story, you know it's true. At every turn, when he was in jail, after being lied on, put back in jail, forgotten in jail, ultimately being made governor, every time you turn around, he was busy being great in Egypt. And when we talk about maturity, I'm talking about, say you raise a child from infancy on up. You couldn't understand that child because of its neophyte language. But then as they grow, they become coherent. They put words together that you can understand. That, go, no, yes, stop, more, food, hungry, dad, mama. And then they put together sentences and whole thoughts, which in fact we could suggest that speaking in tongues, when a person is incomprehensible, it is the neophyte language of someone who's young. But the older you get, the more comprehensible the tongue should be, because tongues is a communicative device. And in Acts chapter 2, we could suggest that the full expression of a tongue is the comprehensible nature whereby tongues breaks down the barrier of separation and reaches people unlike oneself. And so tongues could in fact be when grandmama can speak into a child of this next generation. You can miss your proposition because you are so busy trying to preach what you want this text to say. That's why I say, when people call you to preach for a youth day, or old people's day, or a funeral, or whatever, don't ever let the occasion dictate or manipulate you with your text, because then you'll try to fit your text to the occasion and you'll stifle the text for what it really has to say. And this text right here speaks to any occasion. When you get its meaning out, it'll speak to youth, singles, couples. Any text in the Bible will speak to any occasion if you let it. So you don't have to just go to the Bible and look down certain scriptures to find something on marriage or, I find the strangest text to preach even for funerals. And people wonder, where did you get that from? How did you do that? Because I don't worry about the funeral. I focus on the text. And as I get into my text, I find ways that it speaks to the occasion of the funeral. And I want you to not get caught up, because when you get worried about, when you start worrying about the occasion, you won't be able to find the text. It'll bother you and mess you up, and you'll keep on going. I can't find nothing. I can't find nothing. Why? Because you're so worried about the occasion that you're missing the beauty of what this text will say. I mean, look at it. It speaks to any occasion. He was brought down to Egypt. Greatness resided in a place of confinement. I could preach this for youth and tell the youth who come right out of projects, you can still be great from here. I can go to a jail cell and preach to those who are confined and let them know you don't have to be defined by your space, because the intrinsic nature of Christ within me says I can do all things. And then Paul said before that, I have learned how to be abased, brought down, and to abound in all things. Okay? So I can preach this anywhere. You go down in life from health to sickness. What about somebody that's been diagnosed with cancer? Through no fault of his own, Joseph was brought down to a very restricted place. What about people who are now going through illness? Life will never be the same for them. And you have to stop by to visit them. And you want to give them a word. You're busy praying to God for a word. This will speak to them. Because Joseph was free physically, but now physically he is restricted. It'll speak on any and all occasions if you just listen. Okay? All right.